You're listening to Find the Good News, Episode 15, The Surface and the Depth, featuring Ben Von Duke. This episode of Find the Good News is sponsored by Parker Brand Creative Services, a branding agency that thinks sideways, pushes forward, and gets your brand up. Check out our work at parkerbrandup.com. Would you like to help make sure I'm asking my guests the really good questions? Just visit findthegood.news and click the Questions tab. I'll see if I can get your question dropped in the fishbowl. Each episode, my guests will dive deep, select 3 random questions, and if yours is selected, I'll ask it on the show. That's findthegood.news. In this episode of Find the Good News, I have a long visit with Southwest Louisiana musician and artist Ben Von Duke. This was a good encounter for me. I really didn't know Ben before this visit. I'd only experienced his music through his band, the Von Dukes, and I had seen his artwork on display at a variety of local events. Without knowing the man, I'd unknowingly built up my own version of what he would be like. That composite that I'd fabricated of Ben could not have been more wrong. This man behind the art and music is as peaceful and gentle an individual as I'd ever met. There was no pretension here. I felt that Ben was authentic, honest, and kind. This encounter with Ben was good for me because it helped break through programming that I've got in my mind, a programming that I suspect many of us have, that subconsciously classifies and draws sketches of people based on limited information. There's no doubt that I talk a lot more than Ben, but in allowing me to pick at his brain, I feel that I was able to scratch through the surface and get to the depths. Not just the depths of Ben Von Duke, but also through the surface of my own limited understanding. As hard as I work, I still have a mind that leans towards judgment. Whether Ben knows it or not, he helped me wrestle through those old impulses. By the end of our conversation, I felt like a better version of myself. By showing me his honest mind and heart, perhaps Ben helped me find a little more of my own goodness.
Wake up, it's morning. You're dreaming up a story. I can hear the way it's going, 'cause you're laughing in your sleep on the path to your deliverance, and a holy wall of light pouring through your window.
Old news, bad news, fake news. Sometimes you just want to shut it all down and get no news at all. With Find the Good News, I aim to change that by focusing on good people doing good work. I visit with artists, educators, civic and spiritual leaders, musicians, business owners, students, volunteers, and everyday citizens who are using their creativity, resources, and talents to bring hope and happiness to their corner of the world. In each episode, I dig into the hearts and minds of my extraordinary guests. We have street-level conversations about relatable things going on in their lives, discover the critical life experiences that shape them, the perspectives that drive them, and the fundamental beliefs that are anchoring them to a path of goodness. There's a lot of news in the world. My name is Oran Parker, and I'm going to find the good.
And I love you just as well.
Your show's called, Find the Good News. It seems like everything out there is like bad news.
Right
Any
on.
news out there.
Yeah, I mean, even when you try to avoid it, I open my news feed because I don't want to. I'm not a believer in shutting it all out. You know what I mean? Like not getting any information.
Yeah.
But it's so hard because it just sort of flows in, and then you go, well, I want to find positive stuff, but you can end up living in a dream world too and going, oh, this bad stuff ain't out there.
Yep.
But I guess, with this show, I have to watch it because I think it's good to talk about negative things as long as there's a solution in mind, because then it just becomes complaining. It doesn't become like solution minded. So my thought was, well, we'll bring people on here from different categories, people who are bringing joy or happiness or goodness. And I would say the little I do know about you, because I try, if I don't want to jump around too much, but I try not to go digging beforehand, because I don't want this to be that. I just want it to be like, I'm meeting this person, it's just to sit down with somebody that you're interested in.
Yeah.
And just to jump into you, I guess I need to tell you about what the first time I ever encountered you. I guess you'd call me probably a really terrible fan. If that makes any sense, because me and my wife, we really don't get to go listen to a lot of live music, but we both love to do it.
Yeah.
And so when we hear something that we like, it's always a treat. And years ago, that was when I guess it was AJ's downtown.
Yeah, AJ's, yeah.
Yeah, I had never been there before. The first thing was the name. They said the Von Dukes are playing. I didn't know where you were from. I didn't know anything about it. It's just a cold open, for me. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know what kind of music I was about to hear. And I mean, you have to forgive me if I call it the wrong genre, because at that time, when I heard it, I was like, that's got like a rockabilly sound.
Yeah, it
man.
was straight on rockabilly back then.
Oh, dude. I was in love, man. I was like, what in the world? This is awesome. And Lake Charles, man, it was just a rocking little show, man.
Yeah. So, I was just moving back from Houston at that point.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was something new around here.
Something new. We were working on it for a while. A lot of the songs, we wrote in high school.
Really?
Yeah, we still play them.
Really? Same set? You got them in there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, has y'all sound changed?
Yeah, definitely. It's like, now it's just kind of mixed all in together. You got some 77 punk rock style, like 70s rock and roll, 70s metal mixed in with it.
Yeah.
Rockabilly, old school country.
It's a fun show.
Yeah, it's all, we kind of took the label off of it and just did what we like.
That's right. That's funny. You say it exactly like other people who've been on this show. They say the same thing. I'm going to do what I like, and I'm going to do it because I'm doing what I like. I'm going to do it better. And then by doing it better, other people just are attracted to it. You're not trying to do something.
Yeah, it's a little bit more genuine.
Right. Yeah. So, how does that begin for you? So, as far as being a musician, obviously you're a creative person in a lot of aspects, but as far as being a musician, when does that start for you in your life? Was that something from early childhood, or did you pick that up later?
I've always been into art and music, but, I think I got my first acoustic in 3rd grade.
3rd grade?
Yeah.
You asked for it, or somebody just gave it?
Yeah, I got it for Christmas.
Really?
Yeah, it was, I think it came from Lions Music.
Oh, really? Here in Sulphur?
Down the street, yeah.
Yeah, I think
I don't know if they're open anymore.
I've seen the sign. That's right. It's right around the corner. That's where I got a saxophone when I was in junior high.
I think it was a cheap model. The action was so high, it was like cut my fingers up and everything.
Yeah.
But I think at the time that certain model cost probably no more than $60.
Come on. Oh my gosh, man. So 3rd grade, you start playing, and what happens next?
Well, I didn't constantly play, but that was my first interest in wanting to play.
Yeah.
I guess I was kind of intimidated by it.
Sure, I'm learning to play guitar. And
I was trying to figure out ways to hook 9-volt batteries up to it to make it electric and all kinds of stuff. But it didn't work.
Right.
I think it was probably in high school I picked it back up. Did some work on it to make it easier to play. And then after that, once I learned some notes, chords, I got an electric. It was a Les Paul.
Yeah.
From, it's called the Treasure Hunter. It was in Westlake.
Yeah.
And this dude had nothing but Les Pauls in there. But my dad got me one for Christmas and taught me how to play, like Smoke on the Water.
So your dad played guitar?
He was a bass player.
Okay.
Yeah. He played in a band around here in the 70s.
So music was in the family already.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So he taught you to play Smoke on the Water, and then you get the bug after that, huh?
Well, let's see. He taught me that. He taught me some Black Sabbath. I think it was, might have been Paranoid. And Jumpin' Jack Flash by the Stones.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool, man. Not every kid's got a parent that was in a band,
Yeah. And then he taught me some bar chords, and then, couple weeks later, we started a punk rock band.
Come on, how old are you at this point?
15 or 16.
Really?
Yeah, and this was me and Luke Duke.
Yeah. Well, y'all been playing together a long time.
So we're still playing
man.
together.
Yeah, God, I had no clue.
Yeah.
Holy cow, I didn't know y'all went back that far.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, well that's inseparable.
Yep.
So you moved. Now that's interesting. So y'all were in that first initial band together. How long do y'all play together? And then you said when we were talking before, you were in the Navy. You moved away.
Oh yeah. I moved to Houston with my family right after high school.
Okay, so you and Luke kind of start that band, and then y'all don't play for a while, I'm assuming, huh?
Yeah, but I was coming here every weekend.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I missed the place so much. So I mean, we'd play music and record every time.
Really?
Do shows at the Kilowatt Club.
Yeah.
I'd show up in town. We'd go over some songs and come up with something, with a set or something.
Yeah.
Play a show over there. Play some shows with it was a band called Mystic Fix. They're from Lafayette, but they were like a punk rock band. But it was just, it was awesome back then.
Different time.
Yeah.
Well, so Jody was kind of talking about it. There wasn't not like now, there's venues and things like that. You had to kind of make your own venue.
Yeah, this was at the Kilowatt Club in Westlake.
Oh yeah.
But that was probably a little bit after the two spots he was talking about. I never could even pronounce the name of the place.
Porquapa?
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a tongue twister for me.
Y'all never played there?
No, but we'd watch bands there.
Okay.
Mystic Fix would play there. I used to like this surf band. They were called the Jukeboxers.
Yeah, where were they from?
They're from here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you go in the Navy, you travel in the Navy, or did you travel around while you were in the Navy?
Well, I signed up, and they were having us run PT and get into shape and all that.
Right.
So it was called delayed entry program.
Okay.
So they kind of teach you the ropes and all that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I finally set up a date to actually go to boot camp. I did that, and by a month before was September 11th.
Oh, wow.
So I went to boot camp, and after that, my squadron was deployed on a ship, and we were out there for all that.
Oh my gosh, man. The whole world changed.
Yeah.
Really, we're still feeling that today.
Yep.
Yeah, I have to tell my son that he was born right after a year after that, and a year and a half. And when I talk about that day with him, for him it's not even a memory. All it is footage and stories. You know, and I told him, I said, yes, that's interesting. I said, because I forget sometimes that the world you're living in is really a direct result of what happened then. Everything, even the political climate, the way we treat each other, all of that, everything just shifted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's crazy. You get in the military right at that moment.
Yeah,
you couldn't have bullseyed, and that's insane.
It was like, let's see, once I set a date, I remember waking up to the thing on the radio, and it's like, damn.
What in the world, man?
What did I get myself into?
Sure. Well, it's different signing up during peacetime, man.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm not going to say the world was 100% peaceful, but before then, I would have considered that peacetime, even in the 90s. When we were at war in Iraq, I still kind of felt like that was peacetime for the most part, but man, it just seems like it's a doggone mess now.
I haven't really kept track of it since I got out.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you, but.
So you were in for a while, kind of a wild ride. The whole demeanor of everything just shifts. I'm sure y'all's alert level was higher. Even training was probably.
Yeah, it's just weird to get thrown into it. That scenario becomes pretty normal.
Yeah.
Like wearing gas mask for 24 hours and all this.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn, this, isn't something that normal people go through.
Sure. Yeah, no, true.
With planes crashing and missiles,
Well, and man,
flying out of the submarines beside you, and
yeah,
oil fires, and
that's not what your life was before, and it's not what you really expected
but
to be walking into.
It becomes like natural.
Does it? How fast does it take?
Like really fast.
Really?
It starts kicking in probably within the first by 24 hours.
Really? It's like, oh,
I guess it starts off with shock, and then you're like, once the shock wears off, it's just like, I guess this is normal.
Yeah. Well, and as it goes on and that chain doesn't change and it stays that way.
Yeah.
Because that's an escalation period right there. I mean, from 2001 to, you were in for 5 years?
Yeah.
So the 2001 to 2005 or 6, you're talking about an escalation. That's not like this happens and everything flatlines. That's up to, it gets exponentially different conflicts and things.
Yep.
I mean, even the training changes, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, so you spend 5 years. That's interesting because, I mean, on one hand, I didn't think we were going to talk about the military so much, but I mean, that's how conversations go. So you take a guy like you, and I mean, you're an artist, you're a creative person, you're into music, and you said that's all going on in your childhood, and it's part of your life. I can tell you, I'm kind of from a similar background. Okay, I mean, I've always drawn and liked art, and I like music. I don't play guitar, I play harmonica, and I like to sing and write. But so I mean, creativity is creativity, and not everyone's not created equal in that regard. I mean, we're all different, but I think a lot of the time, creative people have a different temperament, and maybe even a different way of looking at the world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I try to stay positive.
Yeah. But how do you take that guy, this kid who's playing guitar in a band, creative music's kind of flowing, and then you stick that guy in the military, and then bam, he's in a 9/11 world now. How does that fit, and how does that change you? Does it change you? Did you change? Well, I mean, I'm sure you did to some degree.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say that it affected me in a way that I realized how fragile we are, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I went in, just full of piss and vinegar, thinking I was indestructible.
Yeah.
And then, something like that opens your eyes, and you're like, we're about, as fragile as a sheet of paper.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, you see a different side to life. I've talked to a lot of guys friends who have been in the military for long periods of time, and many of them go back in because it's the world they see on that side of things. They come back and try to fit into like a regular job,
and that is hard. That's hard for me. You go from multi-million-dollar equipment in charge of like aircraft and all this, and then once you get out, it's like basically, I mean, it was like for me, I couldn't even get a job doing what I did. Yeah,
that training doesn't really apply all the time.
And I've heard that they just kind of want to, with them jobs, they kind of want to start fresh and train you. But if you've already been trained like that, I mean, that's pure speculation. But that's what I'm getting at, is that's the hard part.
Reintegration.
Yeah. Because you're like, they're fairly like very, very important.
Yeah, right.
And then once you get out, you're like basically the low man on the totem pole again.
Right.
Even though you worked yourself up the totem pole in that facet.
Yeah, I can see that being hard.
So that's the hard part.
And you found that's a bit of a struggle. Well, what's your career right now? I mean, your primary.
I'm a carpenter now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you work for yourself, or do you work on a crew?
No, I work with the crew.
Yeah. My father was a carpenter. He was a good carpenter. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's probably, my dad always said it's one of the most honorable trades on the planet.
Yeah, nothing like it. Starting from nothing, and you get a little, it's just kind of like artwork. You get a visual image of it, and you do what you can to translate that.
Right. I always was amazed by that when the things my dad would build, like building a home just was so as I've gotten older, I wish I'd have appreciated it more when I was younger, because I didn't. I was like any other kid. I wasn't. When I daydream now and think about that, if I could just go back in time, man, I mean, just for little key moments, there's these memories I have of him doing particular projects or working on different places, and he would bring me sometimes, and now I just go, boy, if I could just go back and pause time and like slow it down and even like just kind of touch him too, not just me, but touch him too and go plant a seed in his head of awareness, if that makes any sense, to where it's like, hey, go to your son right now. You have the time. I know you're trying to build this house, but go to your son and share this with him. And like I could touch my childhood self and go, yeah, your father's about to share something with you. Y'all both pay attention.
Pay attention.
Oh man, what a blessing that would be to have that happen, because I honestly think the joy of learning to build with my father, that sounds like heaven, man.
Yeah.
Heaven. I don't have those kind of memories, so that's something I think would be a treasure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you have children?
Yeah, I got 2.
2? How old are they?
I got one that's 3, or about to turn 4.
Oh, wow.
And I have one that's 8.
Boys, girls?
It's 2 boys.
2 boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. 8, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my youngest son's 8. Does he is he interested in what you're doing, your music or even your trade, being a carpenter? Is he interested in any of that? Or does that translate over?
He does a little bit of artwork.
Yeah.
He's kind of in the stage where he's stuck to his video games.
Mine too, man.
And Legos.
Yeah. He's a builder then. Mine's the same way, man. He likes building and problem solving and coming up with plans for things.
Yeah.
But creative too. It's interesting. He's a pretty good mix. I actually find that I see a lot of my father in him as he gets a little older. Just some of my dad's rambunctiousness.
Skip the generation.
Yeah, right. There's a lot more of my dad in him, I think, than there is in me, probably.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Now, man, having kids in a creative family, I think it's interesting. I've seen that in my daughter, my oldest son, and my youngest too. It gets passed on,
Yeah.
Even if you're
definitely
not trying to.
Well, yeah. It's just it rubs off on them. I mean, how couldn't it? Right.
Yeah, they're around it. I mean, they see you play. I mean, do you practice a lot, you and the guys? I mean, in your band, do y'all play together every week or how often do you?
Yeah, we try to every week. Our bass player hadn't been in good health, so actually I think today he had surgery, so he should be on the ups now.
Yeah. Are y'all in? I mean, are y'all in several bands, or is it just the one band, Von Dukes?
That's the only one I'm in.
Okay.
Luke is in Large Marge. Aaron Collins was in a couple, but I'm not sure if he's got any projects going on.
Yeah.
Other than us.
But as the Von Dukes, y'all play at least once a week, yeah?
Yeah, we try to.
Yeah. So whenever you first formed the Von Dukes, I mean, when does that happen, and what time period are we talking about?
That happened. I got out of the Navy, moved to Houston for probably about a year. Went to college.
How'd that go?
Well, I suck at math, so it's like they made me take all these remedial courses for a dang art degree, and I was like, honestly, could say that I tried my hardest. It just wasn't working. So,
hey, you know what, man?
Move back here.
I don't know how I feel about all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's not a popular sentiment, I think, to say to not. Well, I'll put it this way. I guess the plainest way is if I went and sat with a group of parents and said, I'm not pushing my kids to go to college. There's a lot of people who would say that's frowned upon. You need a degree. But, if you really look around, I know a lot of people who have college degrees who have a lot of college debt and still can't find the work that they went to school for. It's a lot like that military scenario that you kind of talked about.
Yeah, that's so.
Where you get this training and then the jobs aren't there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Having those conversations with my oldest boy, is basically, is college what you want to do? Because he's creative, he's got other skills, and college can be a door, but it doesn't always work out that way for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to steer my children the wrong way, but I don't want to force them down a path either.
Yeah, no, because that sometimes backfires.
Oh, I've seen it backfire for sure. I mean, imagine if you'd have been forced down a path, how would that have went? I mean,
it would have went the opposite way.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you were wired. Yeah. So you go to Houston, you go to college, and the math, the math becomes a stickler.
See, I would have made band roll probably every year if it wasn't for math in high school.
Isn't that something? How we've had an educator on here. I don't know if you know Mickey Smith.
Yeah. Actually, I graduated with him.
Did you? I like Mickey a lot, and he has some interesting thoughts about education. He feels he makes a good point that we're not teaching children in new ways. We're kind of using an old structure.
Yeah.
And the world's just changed so much, and I tend to think that, and I see it even here with when you have teammates. It's like you got to watch people and go, hey, you have this skill. And I've seen designers become really good copywriters.
Yeah.
They're not trained. They haven't been to school for it. They have no degree in it. They have no experience. But because they're creative and you go, hey, you're thinking creatively, you have a tendency to put these words together, you got to let them do it. And you got to go, hey, try this. Well, all of a sudden you're going, they're writing incredible TV scripts and radio scripts and copy and brochures. And you're like, there's people who would go, well, they're not trained. Like, yeah, but is that how it has to be? They don't have the degree, but I mean, is the skill no more valid?
I mean, I think that it should be. I think that there's too much on higher education because they have a lot of people that they're naturally talented with that.
Sure. And
they don't really have that much of a chance.
Yeah.
Unless they know somebody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I can. I'll give you this as the best example I can think of. It relates to you. So I go to AJ's. I don't know you guys. We walk in and we're just instantly exposed to your performance. There's no part of me that goes, I wonder if they were formally trained. I need to ask and see if they have a degree in this.
Yeah. I can't read music.
That doesn't change my experience as exactly. the consumer of that beautiful thing, And so I think that I don't know. I'm not saying there's no value to the higher education. I mean, there's things you can't get perhaps outside of a university or some kind of formal training. Perhaps, I don't know. I mean, I guess a lot of it might all depend on who the educator is, honestly.
Yeah.
I've had some really profound educators that left a mark on me, and a lot of times the mark that they left didn't have anything to do with the training. It was more
kind of unconventional.
Yeah.
Just kind of stepped out of the box. Yeah, that's from my experience the most I've gotten out of anything like that.
Yeah. Somebody that just kind of touches you in a certain way.
Yeah.
Was there anybody like that for you that you can think of that's been that influential?
Actually, I had an art teacher in high school. Her name was Mickey Stoker.
Yeah.
And she influenced me a lot and, helped me realize what I needed to focus more on.
Yeah. What was that advice from her? What did she tell you needed to focus on?
Well, I think at the time I was doing mainly pencil drawings, but a lot of like grayscale shading.
Mm-hmm.
But she told me that I needed to, basically pay more attention to color.
Yeah. Start working that in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I'd have had somebody like that because I tend to. Yeah, I guess I would say I probably have avoided some things that I probably could have learned because I was afraid and I didn't really have that voice,
Yeah.
And or somebody on the sideline pushing, so I kind of meandered into the things I was interested in and avoided the things I didn't. I've learned to fight it and go down those paths if I need a skill, but when I was younger, there weren't a lot of voices like that.
Yeah.
In my life, so yeah, I kind of have regrets about that kind of thing. If I'm being honest, I mean that's the truth. Sometimes I daydream a lot about. I wonder what if I'd have had a mentor or just somebody like that said you should really give this a shot.
Yeah.
Did it make a big difference for you? I mean, did that changes your course as far as an artist?
Now, I only do black and white as like a sketch. I mean, pretty much everything's in color.
Yeah, well, your color work is really good.
Appreciate it.
Oh man, I mean, I feel like I've seen some of these pieces before, and I feel like I might have seen that calendar now that I looked through your portfolio. But man, those are just snapshots of history. But it's awesome that they're not just a photograph. There's something special about it being an illustration.
Well, I tried to make them a little bit whimsical.
Yeah. You capture a feeling, a vibe.
Romantic.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that about it. There's something different about that. A photo you can look at and kind of get in the details, but when you have the opportunity to capture a moment in time like that in an illustration, like you said, you can add things in there that maybe they wouldn't be in the photo.
Yeah.
Like a particular car model, or even if it's just the way people are dressed, or adding, extra, I don't know, just little embellishments.
Yeah.
Is that how you go about that when you take on a project like those locations?
Oh yeah, I do that all the time.
That's probably fun, man, to research that.
You listen to people's stories and you're like, there's got to be some way to include this in here.
Yeah.
Just little things. Yes, I do add more cars usually.
Yeah.
More cooler cars.
Right.
I try to fill it out and, do what I can to, get that feeling to it that people describe.
Yeah. That's what you're trying to capture, is a feeling, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, that's something special about art. I think sometimes, and I'm guilty of it, is you can look at an art from a technical aspect only and go, oh, that's an incredible technical, the technical skill's high. I don't know. You can just say, oh, they drew that really well. There's just like perfection. But then you can look at something else, and if you base it on just technical skill, you're going, oh, you can maybe say it's diminished. But I don't find that. I think that it's nice when there's just little embellishments that aren't just precise. You know what I mean? It's not just like, oh, every single stitch and bolt and screw is in something.
Yeah. I mean, and that leaves a lot of room to like for me, it leaves a lot of room for, like more elaborate line work and shadows, like different lighting techniques, I guess. It's just kind of, you can kind of create your own view on it, I guess. Translation.
And I'm happy, I know it.
You've probably heard me mention filming videos, building websites, creating logos, or building brands on this podcast. Well, there's a good reason for that. I'm a brand builder, and my brand is Parker Brand Creative Services. My team and I have built countless brands in the Gulf Coast region, and a lot of our work in the travel and tourism industry is experienced across the country and honestly the whole world. We have our specialties: web, logo, package, and whole brand design, as well as video production and photography. But the reality is, we function as a full-service advertising agency to businesses that don't really mesh well with larger advertising agencies, or just don't want to have in-house creative departments. But don't listen to what I say. Just go to our website, parkerbrandup.com, and take a look at what we do. We're a show it, don't say it team. Okay, you should definitely say it too, but you know what I mean. That's parkerbrandup.com. We think sideways, we push forward, and we'll get your brand up.
So take this, you've earned it, a melody in chorus.
When you did the piece for Delta Downs recently of their track, the one you showed me, how long does a project like that take you?
That one took a couple weeks.
Yeah. Cumulative hours. I mean, you do it's a little bit every day, I'm assuming.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. That must be nice. I would say that's a big difference between actual art like that and what we do in a graphics design agency. Ours, you don't do a little bit every day. Most of the time you put your time in and you just got to kind of keep going till it's done.
Yeah.
You don't like set it down and come back.
Put straight hours on it.
Yeah, you're in it. And I'm not going to say you don't stop, but most of the time it's 4, 5, 6, 7 hours on that project, and then you might not finish in a day, so you would come back the next day. It's probably what you're working on the next day, though.
Well, I mean, if artwork was a job, I mean, it'd probably be like that.
Yeah, but probably so.
It's just a hobby.
I don't know, man. That's beyond hobby level. I mean, of course.
I'd like to get a job drawing.
Yeah,
drawing and painting. But
have you ever done a book or anything like that? Illustrated a book? Has anybody ever approached you about anything like that?
No.
Your work seems like it would lend to that. I mean, you have the variety in there. A lot of artists can't. They're really good at people and maybe not so good at landscapes and objects, or they're maybe really good at vehicles and not buildings, or you know what I mean. But what I saw in your portfolio, you have the variety. I mean, you can do all the things. You've got the technical skill to do the mechanical objects that have a lot of straight lines and buildings and things, but there's also the landscapes and people too. I don't know, that's just, it made me curious, because I mean, I could see, you know, it'd be interesting to see someone do like a I don't know, just a history book where you maybe go back and tell a story. And you could really do that kind of work, it looks like.
If anybody's listening, give me a job.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it works, right? I mean, you got to just make the right connection. I think a lot of times that's what people's success really amounts to. I mean, I got to kind of almost apologize.
I mean, you got to wait for the door to open, up for you.
Yeah.
At the right time.
And you got to do the work too. I mean, you have to put the time in.
Yep.
You know, that's the thing. I mean, some people, I think, perhaps are waiting for their ship to come in. You know, that whole thing. It's like, well, when's my big break coming? And I'd actually read something about that recently, a pretty interesting article. And it's saying that maybe a lot more people now have that feeling. It's been sort of embedded in us all that, well, I'm just kind of waiting for my ship to come in, and everybody has that feeling right now. Yeah. Like, you know, something's going to happen. They're going to get discovered. And a lot of that just comes from so much information, and we're exposed to so much of that, and TV shows that, like, it's like someone goes on a show, a reality TV, and all of a sudden they're a star.
Like a guarantee.
Yeah. So it's like everybody's got this shoe in that, well, the only reason I'm not successful is because I haven't been discovered yet. Yeah. You know, my secret ability or my windfall. And the reality is that that's not coming for everybody. Yeah. You know,
the chances get better as long as you, do work towards that goal, you know?
Yeah. I mean, would you say that's a goal for you? I mean, to be a full-time illustrator or musician?
Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Both or one or the other? If you had your choice, if you could pick one or the other, that's a good question. I mean, with two talents like that, because you're highly talented at both, if you could only pick one to go all the way in, which would it be?
It'd probably be artwork.
Really? Yeah. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah. I don't know how long I can handle the road, you know?
Right. When you have a family. Yeah. That's difficult.
That would kill me not to be able to see them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I know that feeling. My son and I were just having this conversation this morning, man. I got to tell you this story. You know, as a parent, you know, I'm sure you know your perspective is so different than your kids. And your kids are still young, which is 8's a good age because you're really getting into that age, you know, where you can have those little conversations and they're beginning to learn about the world and have ideas and thoughts, which always amazes me. But it's when they get to those teenage years, those conversations are totally different. And so my son and I were talking about being homesick. And he said, you get homesick? Because, I mean, I'm at work or I'm at home most of the time. Yeah. Because I'm an involved parent. I mean, I'm either with my kids or I'm with a client or I'm at work. I'm not typically just doing whatever I want. Most of my life's about somebody else. And so I said, sure, I get homesick all the time. He's like, when? I was like, well, when I'm at work, you know, like if I got to work late or if I'm driving a long distance to go to a meeting or if I'm out video, and I do a lot of video work. So a lot of times I'm out on the weekend filming other people's fun. Yeah. Do you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so some people who love videography would say, oh, that's fun. And I'm like, well, yeah, it is. But a lot of times I'm watching other people drink and laugh and I'm just hustling angles, if that makes any sense. Yeah. You know, it's like, how can I got to catch this shot and that shot. So I'm not really there. And so I told my son, I said, yeah, I get super lonely when I'm doing those jobs. I'm not going to lie. I said, I get lonely behind the camera, get kind of in my own headspace. I said, and then I get homesick. Yeah. He's like, that's weird. He said, but you're coming home that night. And I said, yeah, but I don't know. I said, I get sad, man. I think about y'all being at home or I think about what y'all are doing. I said, yeah, I get homesick. He said, I don't know. I said, well, do you ever get homesick? He goes, yeah, I get homesick. He's in band. He's in color guard. And so they go out of town, you know. Yeah. He said, yeah, I get homesick when we're out of town, like at 3 or 4 hours away and we're not going to get back till late. And this is what he says, dude. He goes, I get homesick for Taco Bell. I was like, what? And I thought about it, and at first I thought that is so insulting. But what he means is I'm waiting for him in the parking lot, and like 12:30 at night, he gets home, he's always hungry, and we go to Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And at first I didn't read that statement right, but later on today is when I was meditating on it, and I was like, I think what he means is it's the idea of the memory, because when he gets older, he's going to look back and go, yeah, I remember when me and Dad I'd be tired and Dad would take me to Taco Bell.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's what he's homesick for, is the scenario.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a beautiful thing, the statement in itself, almost somebody could go, man, that was kind of a slight, but I get it.
A little bit more to it.
That's right. When he's 40 years old, and who knows if I'll be around, that memory is going to be something he'll be homesick for. Oh yeah, me and Dad going to Taco Bell.
Yeah.
That's the kind of things you want, man. I mean, for all the success in the world, if you don't have stuff like that, you don't really have anything.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah, well, I find it interesting, man, that you would choose art. It's interesting anytime I meet somebody, which I didn't know you till tonight, other than who I've seen, and experienced. But I'm always fascinated by that, because I experienced you, I guess, again, as a musician, mostly. And then I've been to different events that I was filming, honestly.
Yeah.
And I would see your art, and I went, oh, he does art. But it was like in my brain, I wired you in as a musician, and the art was secondary.
Oh, yeah.
Do you find that happens a lot with you? Public perception is that you're a musician first and artist second, or do you feel like it's...
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if I really thought about that.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, because how many, thinking about it from that perspective, how many people who go listen to your music go to the next step, then also experience you as an artist?
I mean, it happens quite often around here.
Yeah, locally probably.
But it also goes the other way too.
You go to events where you're not playing music.
I do artwork events, and they find out that I play music too, and they're like, hey, I didn't know you were a musician too.
Interesting. I wonder, have you, in an attempt to grow either or, do you marry those two together ever? And I'll bring this up, and I'll just to stimulate a thought here. There was an event in Lake Charles, and I think I brought it up on another one of the shows. It was called Vision and Verse, where they had the poet would write a poem, and someone would paint an artist, or else they would write a song and then someone would paint a painting based on the song. Have you ever thought about doing that, like making a bridge between those two worlds? Like writing a song that you're going to perform, but then also you have a piece of art that goes along with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say that I've done that before.
Seems like they go together. Even if it's just, have you ever done like your own album art?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
How many albums have you put out?
Let's see. We got 2, and we're about to start working on another one.
Oh, right on. Is it the same lineup of folks in your band that's been there since the beginning, or have y'all shifted?
Luke Duke is the only constant. I guess we've gone through quite a few members over the years.
Does your sound change a lot when the members change?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
New dynamic?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, profoundly.
Yeah, I was a fan of the band Wolfmother for a while, and I guess I came in late when they were they had kind of a peak in my opinion. But about the time I got to liking their music, the lineup changed. Next album comes out, and I was like, oh, this is good, but it doesn't sound like it. But then the next album comes out, sounds totally different. The next one comes out, and I'm like, man, I don't like what's happened. And I go look, and I'm like, oh, the only person's the same as the lead.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like Social Distortion, too. The only original guy is the lead singer, Mike Ness. Yeah, I mean, when you change members, you have to find out what they do best. Yeah. And to an extent, without losing control of the sound, you have to let them be artists for what they're doing. So I think that's maybe why it changes whenever members change.
That's a good thing, I guess, right?
Well, I mean, you don't want the person to not be able to feel like they can't contribute creatively.
Right.
Yeah. I think that puts too much of a restraint.
I would say that's the same thing in what we do too. I mean, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
If you have team members, and I mean, I guess my primary function is as a creative director and making sure that it's good for the client to see or what have you, or even if we're creating the idea from scratch, it's the same thing. If I've got a team member who I'm going, no, that's not how we're going to do it, and I'm always doing that, then anybody can sit in their chair. Anybody could sit there. And that's not a team. That's warm bodies, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wondered about that. Well, that kind of makes me think about something else. So if you're, you change people and then the sound changes, are there different times in your life where you've had experiences that have just changed the way you write or the way you produce music?
Yeah. I mean, as I've grown older, the songs have definitely matured.
Yeah. How so? Like, in what way?
I mean, back when I first started playing music, I was in a punk rock band, so it was all like,
yeah,
F you and F this, and
right.
It wasn't very positive. I've gotten more positive over the years.
You have? Okay.
I never really was not positive.
But the genre kind of lent to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The high school kids.
Yeah, rebel.
Yeah. The high school punk rockers, of course, are going to be angry at something.
Yeah, right. So what would you say now? I mean, you said softened up a little bit as far as the messages in the song. Are there messages, or is it just for fun? I mean, is it just a mix? I mean, how do you go about that when you're writing?
I think mainly now I'll write about feelings. I mean, whether it makes sense or not. To me, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Just something that it means something to me, and when I play the music along with it, it conveys the same feeling. Whether the lyrics make sense or not, it's just all about just what I'm feeling at the time.
Sure.
The energy, the energy that I have when I'm writing it.
Do you ever just sit down to write, or do you typically wait to be inspired by something, a feeling, or an occurrence that causes a feeling?
Yeah, I mean, that's usually what I do.
Okay, so something just hits you.
Yeah.
Or something will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this kind of stuff. I'm fascinated by that because to me, that's when the best stuff happens. It's like you said, you use the word energy, and it's the way it is. I talk about this all the time and pose this to you. I believe that creativity is actually a force.
Yeah.
I don't believe in a cold universe. I think there's a life force, and I think creativity is like an element of that, and that it wants to make things.
Oh yeah.
And so when I feel that energy, on one hand, someone could argue that and say, well, that's just your emotion. I tend to feel like it's a spirit, and when you can catch it and go, I'm going to ride this.
Yeah.
And better things for me happen when I ride it.
Well, yeah. I mean, because once you're open to that, and you just go with how you feel about it, or I mean, what bad could come out of it? Usually, I find that good things come out of good energy, or doing something with it.
Sure. Don't just kill it.
Yeah. Just let it go, and
yeah. Do you find that you typically do that? I mean, you typically, when you feel it, you catch it and ride it most of the time, or
yeah,
do you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I want. That's the kind of life I want to live. I want more of that. Man, I mean, I really do.
Well, it's just one of them things where don't close the door to nothing. Like, don't be scared to roll with whatever it is, And
yeah, kind of had an occurrence like that today, and I really don't. I'm gonna try to tell it share it without sharing the details, but it really wasn't. It took me all day wrestling with something, and I guess some people might even say, well, that has nothing to do with creativity, but it was sort of creative problem solving, and it was really wrestling with two different parts of myself. Like, there's the part of myself that I just said that I want more of that, which when I say I want more of that and do like you said, I don't close the door, I make better connections with people, the conversations are more heartfelt and open. Yeah. The collaborations are better, and it just ultimately bubbles up into what I would call just more love, right?
Yeah.
But when the other part of myself, which is the part that fits into the daily grind of the work, the job, which is the business side of it, I make different decisions. And I find that those decisions are not heart decisions, they're mind decisions, and they're really time-based most of the time, because time is there's so little of it in our type of profession. So I have to quantify it and go, well, I only have this much time I can give this, and I have this much time I can give that. And as I start slicing the time up, I find when something is a time thief that I become more sour, because I'm trying to protect this time. And then what really hurts my heart the most is whenever that time thief is a person, and I go, that's where the struggle, I guess, where I'm getting at is I go, this person, if I take this time block off and throw that out the window, then I see this person as my brother.
Yeah.
And I see this person as another human being, has a heart, feelings, and I look at them that way. And then I want to visit with them. I want to spend time with them. I'll give them anything. I want to give them anything in the world. But when I draw the box around them from the other side of it, the work side, the business side, they become a project. And then I see them stealing my time, and I can only give them so much time. And I want to do something good for them, but I only have so much I can.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's bad. Well, maybe I am saying it's bad. I don't really know what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that was my struggle today with a particular person. It took me all day to finally go, okay, there is a solution to this and a door that's open. It isn't the door that I wanted, but it is a door and it's a creative solution. Once I let my energy flow there, I felt so much better about the solution, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, this was here all day, but it was a struggle. I mean, it makes me think about all the times that I don't take the time to struggle with it, and I can kind of disregard a person because they're stealing my time or whatever. And that sounds honestly, it kind of sounds like a jerk. I don't mean it to sound that way, but it's just a part of the reality of the job, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you ever experience that kind of thing? Has that ever happened to you? Or you typically feel like you're pretty good about leaning into just going, hey, I'm not going to worry about this time.
Yeah, I mean, of course I got to worry about time at work, but yeah, I mean, that's probably the only time that I worry about that, is if I got to get something done.
Yeah.
At work. But I'm pretty laid back too,
Yeah, you seem pretty laid back.
I just kind of go with the flow most of the time.
Yeah.
And if it is a time issue, like with communicating with people or whatever, I'll just, make it short and sweet.
Yeah.
And, try to end on a good note.
Yeah, that's really good. I
try not to step on anybody's toes or make them all sour at me and stuff.
Sure. I find that as the years go by, for me, if I'm short and sweet, people think something's wrong. And I'll give it to you this way. Like most of, even the show, it's a lot of talking, I mean, it's big conversation. So it's interacting, it's back and forth. There's this interplay. And, that's the way I'm wired. And it's what I've done for so long that if I could have a cordial conversation with somebody, but if it doesn't have any depth to it, if I just say hi and smile and walk away, most of the time people go, something's wrong, because they're not used to that, because I've given the dynamic so often that when I'm not, they're like, oh, something's wrong. Most of the time nothing is wrong. It's in an attempt to be short and sweet, which they're just not used to, So it's like it comes off as, sometimes it comes off even offensive, because it's like, well, you're not giving me what you normally give me. You're holding something back, which I don't tend to do.
I guess you set that bar too high for everybody.
Well, and I mean, I think that's what's happened, man. Yeah. And as I get older, I find that in some circumstances, I feel like, hey, I want to pull back, I want to step back and take a minute longer and maybe just take some minutes for myself too, but it comes off as maybe selfishness in a way sometimes, and that's not really what it's not really what it is. It just comes off that way. It'd be like if you just had a big shift all of a sudden, and everybody's like, what's going on with Ben, man? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That kind of stuff fascinates me. I mean, as far as creativity goes, I guess the reason I brought that up was because it ended up being a creative solution with that person, and it was a different type of creativity. It was a creativity to change decisions. Yeah. I think sometimes that can maybe not seen as creativity, but it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more dynamic if you open up the possibilities a little more.
Yeah. Do you... Talking about that energy of creativity, do you have a particular memory or a song or a piece of art or you remember very well, like you were just kind of riding that high and you went, this just went perfectly. This whole thing, just something was born, and you remember it like as an aha, eureka type of moment?
I mean, I get that a lot when I do oil paintings.
Do you?
Yeah.
Get in the flow? Yeah,
and it's like, you can manipulate the oil so much before it dries. Next thing you know, you end up with something that you didn't think was possible for yourself to do.
Yeah, I bet. So I've never done oil painting, man. That sounds, the way you just described that, actually, it makes it enticing.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, that's why Bob Ross never put it down.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have a project where you recall though, particularly like one where you went, this is a piece that I just go, yeah, I was there. I was in that space.
I mean, my whole, like with music, the whole band ended up being like that.
Really?
And with the band, I kind of want to create, basically it's, I mean, kind of like what you do, like with brand, like a certain, stick to certain guidelines, and just kind of, I guess that the band's kind of like an art project too.
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. Yeah. Has the, as a band, do you ever, on the surface, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's kind of like what people say to us. Let me pose it this way. A lot of times someone will come in here and go, man, it must be so much fun doing what y'all do. And on one hand, I would say, sure, it is. But then, of course, there's always an underbelly to most things. So with a band or with art, do you ever have bad days, I guess is what I'm saying. Do you ever have a show where it's just like, I just ain't feeling it, but I got to play it? Or is it every time? I mean, if you feel, some people it is every time. It's
no,
like, hey.
I mean, I think that sometimes the energy we get from the crowd is better.
Yeah.
But as far as us playing music, I don't think there's ever a time that I don't want to play.
Yeah.
Not unless I can't sing or sick or something.
Yeah, I can imagine that. See, I never really thought about that. See, we don't experience that a lot of times when whether we're dealing with a one-on-one or with a group, you're getting some kind of reaction. I've had a cold client before where you can't get a feel on whether they like it or not. I mean, you do the work, you pour your heart in, but their reaction isn't bad or good. They pay the bill and you don't see them again.
Yeah.
So there's no feedback, and so that energy sort of fizzles out. So I guess that's kind of like a cold crowd or a small crowd.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have those fans though that make it worth it? Do you have people that like you go, man, I see them at every? Do you have people like that?
Yeah, we got fans like that.
Yeah,
they'll sing along and they know all the lyrics and stuff. So
that's awesome. How's that feel, man? That's got to feel good. I don't even know what that's like.
It feels pretty good. It's pretty satisfying.
When did that first start happening for you? Like, I mean, because obviously there was a point where the songs were all new. But do you remember kind of like when you went, oh man, people know these songs now? Yeah,
I mean, probably we were playing at Luna and AJ's quite a bit, and for a while I think it was every dang weekend at one or the other.
Really?
So much to the point where just like, dude, we gotta slow down, we're gonna burn everybody out.
Yeah, right. It's like, hey, we've heard it. You don't want that we've heard it mentality, right?
Yeah. I guess people start singing along probably 2 to 3 months of being playing music around here.
Yeah, I hadn't heard you in a long time because, like I told you, me and my wife don't get to go out and listen to live music that much. We've always had kids, and either one of us or the other one would go, but a lot of times we couldn't go together. And for me, it was always filming, so I was sort of half in, half out.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it, but I'm not experiencing it like if I was just sitting there chilling with a drink or something. But I think it was a couple of years ago I'd filmed you live at the lakefront, and I think y'all had opened.
Oh yeah.
And so it wasn't, I wasn't in full swing yet, like with all the people weren't there. And man, I really enjoyed that because that was like, I hadn't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, the sound was different. I felt like too. It was it was different from what I had experienced all them years before.
Yeah,
at
I think early on it was straight up rockabilly.
Yeah.
We stuck to that for a while.
Y'all even had kind of the look, man.
Yeah, definitely.
It was cool, man. I remember that very well.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah.
But I think live at Lakefront, I think about that time, it was probably had a little bit more straight up rock and roll.
Yeah, that's what it was. I actually got a bunch of footage, man. I need to get that to you.
Oh, yeah.
You might be able to use it for something.
Yeah.
But, man, y'all's Instagram's kicking, dude. Y'all use that. That's that you that's doing all that posting? Or is
actually, our guitar player, which is my cousin.
Oh, right. Okay.
He's on top of the social media because he's a little bit younger.
Yeah. Well, it's active, man. I'm like, damn, they post. It's good stuff, too. It's interesting. I mean, I like a lot of it. I'm like, it's cool. It's a good feed.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's doing a good job at it.
Yeah, for sure. Do y'all get gigs off of that? I mean, do you get bookings from just social media presence?
Yeah. I mean, people hit us up a lot, mainly in Lafayette.
Y'all play a lot in Lafayette?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, around here right now, there's a few places to play, but not places that I think would not accept us, but where we could get away with playing.
What do you mean by that?
And what I mean by that is, I mean, all of our songs are like originals.
I got you.
They do
I
some
got you.
covers.
You're not a party
but
band.
They're obscure covers.
I got you. Yeah.
We're not a cover band.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm.
So I mean, so many clubs won't book unless you're a straight up cover band.
Playing songs people know. Yeah. I can see that. Well, those people make big money too.
Yes, they do.
It blows my mind.
They make enough to make a living off of it.
Yeah, that's an interesting subject to me because, and this is going to probably be a little bit a negative, man, but I got to go there sometimes to get to the positive. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You got to go down that road and have the conversation and not pretend like everything's perfect.
Two sides to everything.
That's right. So this is interesting to me because I have that thought being somebody who films events. Cover bands, I mean, look, I like fun songs and I like to sing songs I know too. And so when I go see a cover band, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But after I've seen it, for me, and that's maybe not everybody, because I mean, dude, I go to these events and film them, and these cover bands, it's packed. People showing up, and it's like, man, look at all the people. And, and then you hear what the cover band makes, and I'm like, dang, they're making a lot of money doing this. It blows my mind. Yeah. And so when I listen to somebody like y'all, and you're playing original stuff, that's like, what's the band I listen to? Loaded 40...
Oh yeah, Loaded 44s.
Yeah. Almost I guess it's all original stuff. I mean, I have one of their albums. It's fun music because it's like, man, this is just a different sound. It's something I haven't heard before. I don't know, just fun stuff. Yeah,
that's the thing I like about music is where it's off the beaten path.
Sure.
There's just something about that, that really hits for me. It just. I like to hear what everybody else has to put out there. Like, how they play instruments. The chord progressions and the little weird quirky things that they make up as a band, I not something that's already,
well, that's art, right? I mean, that's
that's what it is.
That's like I love fusion stuff, man, like where it's like different genres. And there was one played at Live at the Lakefront a while back, Sweet Crude. They were pretty cool, man. That was like a different kind of sound. I was like, what is this? And I went and I had a hard time finding them after that, but then I did find some of their music and bought it, and I was like, this is good stuff. It's not trying to maybe it is, and maybe I don't know enough about music, but it didn't feel like it was in any kind of trend. It was just something different. I was like, this sound is just different. I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't like anything I'd heard.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like to hear. Unique, like something that nobody else is, basically their own. It's their own brand.
Oh, dude.
That's what I like.
That's like, look, I mean, my favorite band to this day, it's been my favorite band since I was in junior high, is the Police. Yeah. And even my wife and I were talking about this years ago, and then one day I caught her listening to the Police. And I was like, are you listening to the Police? And she's like, yeah, it grew on me. Because I would tell her, gosh, she's going to listen to this and go like, you're not telling the story right. It wasn't an argument or anything like that. But I said, I mean, the Police are OG punk is what I told her. And she was like, they're not punk. I was like, you're judging their being punk against what you thought punk was, which was kind of like Green Day before Green Day was popular.
Yeah.
The Police were, you get back into like the Clash and the Police era. I was like, that was, underground London punk.
Oh yeah.
And you listen to it now, and then people will go, well, it's got kind of like a Jamaican, some that's got a Jamaican vibe to it, and you're going, that's not punk. I'm like, yeah, dude, they were mixing stuff together though.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. And now when I listen to songs, I go, oh, I hear the Police in there. I hear other people kind of doing some of that stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's still alive. I mean, they were doing that stuff to me. I don't know, I still listen to it and hear new things. It's an incredible band.
Yeah, it is. I got one of their. I got an 8-track at the house.
The Police.
A Police 8-track.
Oh my gosh, dude! I hope you don't play it. Just hang on to it. Still play.
I mean, it sounds good on the with the analog sound.
That's awesome.
I
haven't seen an 8-track in a long time.
I mean, all them things sound good. Analog, like, I mean, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
It's not all compressed down and all that.
Yeah. Oh, dude, one of my favorite records, and I like it skips like a son of a bitch, but I bought it at a Goodwill in Lake Charles, I went in there and somebody had just, dude, I don't know. It looks like somebody was getting rid of their parents' stuff or a grandparent, and there was records, dude. I mean, just miles of records. And I sat there for 2 hours digging through that pile of records. I mean, I walked out of there with only five, but but one of my favorite records is a Gordon Lightfoot record.
Oh yeah.
And dude, it has Sundown on it, and it skips, but the cracks and all the way it sounds, I love putting it on.
I like the cracks and the hisses and pops and.
Oh yeah, dude.
Nice fuzzy sounding.
Yeah, I was like, dude, this is a treat just to have it. I mean, it was just nice to have the thing.
Yeah.
It was crazy how many records get just dumped out like that.
Yeah, and sometimes I do the same thing. They'll have all kind of stuff. I mean, stuff like Herb Albert, Tijuana Brass, and all this stuff, and like
you find them just
a bunch of stuff that I wouldn't listen to, but in hopes of finding something, you keep digging.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure.
And you could probably dig to about 1,000 records and find one, but
it's worth it.
One time I did that, and I found it was Ricky Nelson's first album.
Really? Somebody just dumped it in a pile and
50 cents.
Ain't that something? What was the one I found? Oh, I know what it was. Growing up, my dad's parents were Pentecostal, and they listened to a lot of gospel, and so they had a ton of gospel records, and I actually kind of hated it when I was a kid. I didn't hate it. That's not true. I just didn't care.
Yeah,
hate's not, that's a strong word.
I didn't like listening to that, as a kid either.
But now I love it, man. I do. I love listening to old gospel songs.
Elvis did a lot of that.
Oh yeah, man. Hey, the Louvin Brothers. You know what I'm talking about? Louvin Brothers.
Oh no, I don't think I've.
Oh man, dude, I'm gonna tell you, you'd love them. I really think so. They're one of those rare little just perfection. The songs they wrote, the way they sing, just beautiful. And a lot of the things that you can find digitized, it's like radio shows. So the songs are all, you'll hear the intro and a lot of the talking and stuff mixed in. So it's all the cracks and stuff like you talked about. But beautiful stuff. Beautiful, man. I don't know. I got accidentally found them looking up. I was kind of looking up another song, and I found a song. I was like, who are the Louvin Brothers? I'd never heard of them. And then after I started kind of, you go down a music rabbit hole, you start to go, man, all this work. Yeah. And so many other artists.
And it branches off, and then the next thing you know, you're deep in La La Land listening to music.
That happens to me a lot when I'm looking up covers. I love covers, man. I mean, hang on. I like covers that are good covers, but not just, I guess, technical covers where somebody's like technically making, you go, oh, that sounds really good. You sound just like, I like it when somebody really takes a song that you've heard and that you love, and then they just flip it and you go, whoa, this is so much better. I mean, it's a whole new universe. Some songs just like that.
Yeah, they used to have this band we used to watch. It was an AC/DC cover band, but it was a bluegrass cover band.
Hayseed Dixie.
It was Hayseed Dixie.
Dude, what? I know who Hayseed Dixie is.
They wore like coveralls. They had like Billy Bob teeth in, mullets. They were all overweight.
So good. That was some good stuff. I still have that on my phone, man.
Hayseed Dixie.
It comes on and people go, "Wait, is that TNT?" I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's oink. Oink. I had a buddy of mine up when I lived in Natchitoches. I wish I was still friends with him. We don't talk anymore, but he lived one street over from me. He was a lot older than me, but he was a good old boy, man. I'll never forget him, but he turned me on to them, and he'd call me at night, man. He was like a country boy who lived in the city. Like he wanted to live in the country, but we both lived in town. And I'll tell you, it's funny. I was one night sitting on my porch smoking a pipe, and he calls me and he goes, "Hey man, look across the street." Now he didn't live like across the street. He lived one street over, so I could kind of peek through the, sort of see his house.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Look through the fence over there." And I was like, "What am I looking for?" He says, "You see that fire?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm burning some trash." He ain't supposed to burn trash in the city limits up there, the ordinance. And he was calling me to let me know he was being a rebel.
He was breaking the law.
He's breaking the law. I'm burning some trash. He just wanted me to know. But he's the one who tuned me into Hayseed Dixie. And I was like, what am I hearing right now?
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff, though, man. It's totally different. It's fun, too. It's kind of, somebody might say that's kind of a gimmick, but I was like, I don't know. They had some pretty good.
They didn't just do AC/DC covers after a while.
Oh, really?
They had other stuff.
It was clever though. Just
Yeah,
the
it
name
was.
and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they handled it. I still, when I hear it, I'll stop on it. It doesn't come up on my playlist all the time, but I don't know. That's kind of fun. Do y'all do covers?
Yeah, I mean, we do a couple. I know we do an old surf cover.
Oh, really?
Pipeline.
Yeah.
I think the Chantels did it originally, and then I think Johnny Thunders did it. I mean, a lot of people did that. Did Pipeline.
Do you ever hear a song and go, "Oh man, I got a way I could do this, or we could do this"? Do you ever hear a song that you're just like, "Man, if we put our touch on this"?
Yeah, we think that a lot about like every time we listen to NXS, we're like, damn.
Oh man.
Oh, we could totally do something with that.
Yeah.
Like I think the last one we talked about was Devil Inside.
What? That'd be cool, man.
Yeah. I mean, we just don't do too much covers.
Is there ever like an allure to that though? I mean, I hate to ask that, but I mean, it's got to be asked in my opinion. It's kind of like, anybody. I mean, if you want to do something, unfortunately, there's that whole nut to crack. It's like, how do I want to make a living doing this, and I'm seeing all these people showing up and they're paying the price and these people are getting the money to do this. I mean, it works. It works. But then there's like the heart part of it. Do you ever have a conflict? You ever feel that conflict where you go, man, I think if we did more covers, man, we could really bring them in. And then once we get them in with the covers, then we can show them our original.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, we've had that idea. Like ideas of, let's get a gig at the casino. We could play, Skinner and Creedence and
all the the greatest hits.
Maybe throw some swamp pop and
sure.
Some old classic rock tunes.
Which those are good songs. It's good stuff. It's fun music.
And then we could slip some of our originals in there. Yeah.
Yeah. What would stop? I have to ask. I'm curious. What stops you? What stops you from doing that?
The fact that we don't want to. That we just want to, produce our own.
Yeah.
Sound.
You want to be known for your own.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't want somebody to be like, let's go watch the Von Dukes. They do basically clear channel communication songs all night.
Yeah. No, I get it, man. I do. I mean, look, I'm not going to say we don't have the same struggle doing this job. I mean, you probably you see the screen, it's moving around, and you see all the stuff we do. I mean, and look, sometimes a client will ask you to go, yeah, but I want to kind of do it like this person. And I am not going to lie, man. I will push as hard as I can to not do that stuff because I'm like, look, I don't.
It's kind of like not creating their own brand.
Yeah, because look, you can go online right now, dude, and go to any stock photos, stock art site and type in, you want to open a guitar shop and save some money? Go online to any of those things and type in guitar shop logo, $50. You can find tons of creative ready-made guitar shop logos.
Yeah.
Change the name to whatever you want to call it. It's yours. Somebody else can go do the same thing and buy the same logo as you. And they're not bad logos. They look good, and people do it every day. And you can come here and tell me, hey, I'm opening a guitar shop. And I can design you a creative logo that is original.
It's one of a kind.
But is it gonna? But ultimately, will it look better than the one you could have got for $50? I don't know. I mean, it's up to the client, you to decide. But I'm not gonna do that. I mean, because there are designers who go out there and they just crank that stuff out and they sell it and then they move on. That's just not for me. Because it puts a paycheck in your pocket.
Yeah.
That's just not what we do. I get it. I just was curious what you thought about it. Because, people do ask us to do that. I mean, not copy necessarily, but people will come in. And, look, it's part of the conversation of creatively building anything. It's like, what do you like? So a lot of that conversation starts by saying, well, I like this brand or that brand. But ultimately, the goal is to kind of just get an idea where the client's at, sensibility-wise.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any work like that as far as, have you ever wrote a song for a business or a brand?
No, not a song. I don't know. Well, not far. I wrote a song called Blue Ribbon Beer.
I've heard y'all play that.
But I didn't write it for them.
Yeah. You've had that song. How long have you had that song? You've been playing that?
Man, I've been playing that since 2001.
I heard y'all play that night. Because I remember thinking it was fun.
Yeah.
It's probably a popular song too. You
Yeah,
probably
it was, yeah.
You don't play that to start the show. It's probably after people have had some Blue Ribbon beers.
Yeah,
huh?
it's probably about halfway through.
People expect it.
Yeah, yep. I mean, it used to get really crazy when we played that song.
Oh, I remember that. Do y'all have songs like that you go, we got to play this, people expect it?
Yeah.
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 I figured that, especially as long as y'all been around, that's going to happen.
Yeah, and what we do is we'll play songs like that, then slip a new one in, and then play another song like the ones they want to hear, slip a new one in.
Yeah.
And just, flip-flop every other.
Yeah.
That way they hear something older that they probably recognize, and then something fresh.
Yeah. Your girlfriend's an artist, huh?
Yeah.
Painter?
Yeah.
And so that's my wife is an artist designer as well, and there are people out there who would say, "Oh, I couldn't be with somebody who does the same thing I do." And I was married before, and so I was with somebody who didn't do the same thing I do. And I say, for me, being in a relationship with somebody who is creative and does the same thing has been better.
Yes, definitely.
We can have our conversations are different.
The same thing. My situation's the same.
It's rewarding because you're not going, well, I would say there's less pre-context. Like, I don't have to go, well, let me set this up for you before we talk about this because, see, I do this one thing for a living and I need to tell you about the dynamics first.
Yeah.
All that's gone, and it's like she knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, we do art shows together, and
that's got to be fun.
We do
man.
art together. We talk.
Y'all collaborate on pieces?
Not yet, but
that could be cool.
We've been talking about it.
Well, that's cool.
So far we've done, basically we'll just sit in the studio and paint.
That's cool, man.
Listen to music and smoke a crap load of cigarettes and drink beer.
That actually sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
She, her style. I was looking at her work, and her style and yours. Now that I've really got a good look at what you do, it's so different.
Yeah, it is.
It's interesting. It's kind of cool though, because y'all can both probably appreciate the difference.
Yeah, definitely. Because I can't begin to do the kind of artwork she does. That fascinates me with her artwork because I can't create a piece like that. And I've tried, and it isn't there.
Yeah.
And she does, it's something that comes natural to her.
Sure. I think that I can relate to that because my wife and I, even though we both are designers and creative people, if you give us the same project with the same specs, which a lot of times that's actually what it's like here, we'd both come at it from a totally different direction. I mean, we may have the same direction from the client, colors, photos, whatever we're working with, but the way we're going to handle it's going to be totally different. You give us the same logo project, they're not going to look the same, and that's kind of cool, man. I mean, sometimes we'll play to whoever's got the strength, like if a client needs a creature, like an animal logo or something, that's probably going to be like that's on the screen, that kind of thing. That's more my thing.
Yeah.
But if it's something that's more elegant or needs a softer touch, still very top shelf creative, she'll do that type of thing. So it's kind of neat to look and go, well, that's more your strong suit, and we need to flow with that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of fun, actually, to be able to know it and not fight it. Because I think sometimes as a designer, you want to be able to do all things, which, I mean, that's flexibility. I like that. But I do like it when I can go, hey, I can lean into what I'm stronger with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel more myself as a designer when I'm doing that type of work.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure you feel that way in both your art and your music.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's stuff I'm better at and stuff I suck at and don't want people to see.
Me too, man. I'm actually glad you said that. I'm the exact same way. I mean, I think sometimes we're learning that, and God, we've done this for so long, but we're still learning that lesson. And maybe now, as I'm, how old are you?
I'm about to be 39, November 29th.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm 44. And so I think I've hit that point where, and I don't know, midlife crisis point. It's not a crisis necessarily, but I'm getting to that point where I'm finally, probably painfully so, going, okay, look, I don't need to be doing everything for all people, and even in this profession, because there's this idea we never wanted to be that kind of team. We didn't want to be this giant machine agency where it's like we've got every service and under the sun. I'm like, no, I think everybody here has strong suits and want to do the things they're strong with, and do a good job for people. And if we don't do something, we want to be able to either bring somebody in temporarily to do that, but we end up doing a lot of things. And I go, some of the stuff we just aren't good at, and it's not a bad thing. It's like I used to think that was a bad thing. Now I'm kind of like, look, that's not what we do, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I've said painfully, like I said, we've had to slowly do that, and it's actually hard. Which I'm fascinated by the decisions that you make, and another artist spoke the same way. I think it's awesome when I hear somebody say, I'm going to do the stuff I want to do. I'm not going to meander into those territories, because see, I'm guilty of meandering into those territories. Like you're saying, I'm not going to play cover songs. I'm not going to do that because I want to play original stuff. I'm guilty in my profession of playing cover songs, of going, well, I really need this client. Which, I guess that's survival, right? That's survival, but at the same time, you have to, I'm going, I'm not really wanting to do that, but I need the client, so I'm going to do it. And so you do that a lot. You do that for once, and you say, I'm only going to do it once, and then you do it twice, and then before long, years go by, and you've done it 1,000 times, and even though you've done it 1,000 times, it's still not really something that you want to do.
Yeah.
So now it's a part of your life. But as I get older, I go, oh man, I need to be able to let that go, and I can't because it's become a part.
Yeah.
I don't know, weird. And I can see the same thing happening with doing cover songs, because look at these bands that play nothing but cover songs. I bet you, I might be wrong, but I'll bet you that's not 100% satisfying. It might be fun but I bet there's a part of that part where it's like, man,
there's
I want to do
missing,
something.
I think. I could say that because we do play cover songs, and the songs are fun to play, but there's the part missing.
Well, it can't be all hype all the time.
Yeah.
You're not going to put a hype record on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a musician, I'd actually, you might like, man. I don't know. Like I said, I just met you, but just talking to you, if you like original stuff, there's this Franciscan monk named Brother Isaiah.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, he's something else, man. You know who I'm talking about?
I've heard the name.
You should check out his work, man. I was actually surprised when I first started listening to his work. I was like, first of all, I didn't know they let these guys do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they're using the money, raises money for their monastery. They live very simple, humble. They don't have any possessions, but boy, he puts out some beautiful lyrics and just, I don't know, collaborations.
I think somebody let me hear that one time, and they told me that, that it was a monk singing it. I just can't remember. I can't put my finger on the song.
Yeah. He's only got a couple of little albums out. He just put a new one out, but I haven't got it yet. But the one before was called Broomstick. And I don't know, man. There's certain music that you hear, and it's not just going, oh, I like this kind of music. Because I'm all over the place with music. My son laughs at me because, when we play music in my vehicle, he's like, man, if you could get in your car any day of the week and nobody'd know what kind of music you like, because it's so all over the place. And I said, well, because I don't tend to listen to popular music at all. I don't even know what's popular right now. I tend to honestly discover old music. I find as I get older, I'm discovering older. That's what I do. Yeah, it's weird, man. That's what I do. Music for me is memories attached to it. That's usually why I like something, if it's connected to a time. Or an emotion, Yeah,
I would agree with that for sure.
I liked what you said earlier about how when you write, it's attached to a feeling. Yeah. So many songwriters that a lot of the popular music that I hear my kids listen to, I go, well, that song probably was just a song that's being peddled around. They're trying to find some artist to buy it. They didn't write that.
Yeah.
And it's just weird to me. That's strange. Maybe it isn't. I know it's the business of it, but I find that very strange. I'm like, when I was younger and very ignorant, I just assumed that every time you heard somebody singing it, they wrote it, and their heart was in it.
Yeah.
And now I listen to stuff totally differently. I'm like, oh, that was written, probably wasn't even written for that person. But no, I do think that's interesting that those songs, I guess, again, maybe it's nothing to people who are musicians. Maybe it's like, oh, we know this. We already know people do this. But for me, I'm like, every time I watch one of them little stories, I'm like, man, this is every time. All these songs are just written and they're just out there being sold. And I guess it's been that way for as long as there's been a music industry.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever thought about doing that? Just writing songs for people? Or is it just like, no, never occurred to...
I never pursued it, so I guess I never really... I've thought about not selling lyrics, but trying to sell our songs to certain things.
Yeah. Like,
but no,
give me an example.
Never writing music for somebody else.
Like, what do you mean by that? Like, selling it to what? Like,
Like for instance, we have a lot of songs that would probably be good and that we think would be good, like for certain movies.
I got you.
Record labels, stuff like that. Like we had a lot of songs on one album that would have fit in really good with the Quentin Tarantino movie. So
yeah, right.
We should just send them a copy of this.
Yeah, go look, man. Just make us your band. You know?
Probably won't even ever look at it or put it in, but
yeah, that actually seems like it'd be pretty cool because there's sometimes you'll watch a movie and then they'll have a song play at the end a lot of times, and you'll go, man, that's like the plot of the film. That song kind of encompasses it. And I watched a film recently that I really liked, and it was a pretty popular movie, and I had never heard the song before, and I didn't think to look it up afterwards, but at the end of the movie I was like, was that song for the movie, or has that song always been around? Is Baby Driver? Have you seen that movie, Baby Driver?
No, I haven't.
Well, there's a song at the end of that movie called Baby Driver, and it sounds like an old song, but the song kind of fits the film, and I'm meaning to look it up, and I was like, I wonder if they wrote it. Did somebody it kind of makes you go like I guess the synergy between art and film and any other genre where you go, hey, did someone hear that song and go, oh, I got an idea for a movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like they build the whole...
Sure it happens sometimes.
Oh yeah, I bet it does. I mean, music inspires so much. Do you ever listen to your own music to paint and draw?
Sometimes, yeah.
That's kind of a weird question.
Not recently, but I know sometimes whenever we have new pressings or whatever. Yeah, I mean, they've had some times where I had it playing and to kind of listen to it and while doing artwork, and it ends up being artwork, for a flyer or something though.
Right.
What happens.
That's actually pretty cool, man. I can see that. Do you do all that? You design all y'all's flyers and stuff like that, or
not so much anymore? I mean, I do every now and then. I'll just draw funny things and put them on Instagram. Yeah. Like characters and stuff.
Well, dude, that's what people respond to.
Yeah.
When you're talking about music, a lot of times when it's slick, it smells like people have the mentality, of a sellout. That's that word, man. I mean, it's been around for so long, but it's like, oh, they're a sellout. When you start getting slick, it's a sellout. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure everybody on some level has some version of that. Where it's like,
definitely.
Give something a side eye because it's like, oh, that's not real. I mean, even cover bands, man. I mean, I'm sure there's like a sentiment like that where it's like, maybe. I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, I know that's got to happen because it's the same thing in our industry when you look at these little like logo sites and stuff. You just kind of go, yeah, well, that's not the same thing. When ultimately, for all intents and purposes, it's still a human being creating the thing.
Yeah.
It's just we all kind of side eye it, and just go, whatever, sell out. It's just a thing,
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, look, man, we have this thing on this show. I don't know if you've heard it yet. I don't know if Jody had did it or not, but you see that fishbowl over there?
Yeah.
All right, so we call it Fishing for Goodies, and basically that's full of questions.
Oh, okay.
And you pick 3 questions. I'm going to read them to you.
All right.
And then we'll talk about them.
Okay. So over here and grab something out of this fish bowl.
Yeah, and some of them are questions that we wrote. Some of them are questions that fans of the show have sent us.
So 3 of them, huh?
Yeah, 3 of them. And I mean, I know what some of them are. Some of them I don't.
Things.
That's kind of where we got the idea, man. I really get some rotten fortunes
These better be good.
I hope so. Man, this one came up the other day. That's the third time this question's got all the questions in the same one. Yeah, that's strange. Man, this one too. Huh, okay. Hey, that's kind of cool, actually. Well, I'll ask you this one right here first. If you could change one thing in your community, what would it be? And it can be for selfish reasons, too. I mean, you can just say, hey, I'd change this because I'd like to have this for me.
I mean, it'd definitely be, honestly, I'd really love to see a kick-ass downtown area.
Right on.
Like, even something maybe if enough businesses couldn't get together on filling them spaces, like even like, you see it a lot like in bigger towns. They're like, I call them like, I think like city centers or something like that.
Yeah.
And when you go into it, it's just, I mean, most of them are kind of like, it looks like kind of like what they did in the 70s, like an outdoor mall.
Yeah. Kind of like, have you ever been to Boulder?
No.
Boulder has an area like that, and dude, it is kick-ass. I've been there a couple of times, and I'm blown away. When you go, you can't help but have thoughts like that. You're like, how do you make this work at home? Because... And this came up in another episode with another guest, because downtown is sort of the draw for music and art and stuff.
Yeah, it's right off of I-10.
But there's some cold spots, you know? It's like, how do you keep the circuit moving around the corners? Because you got this one it's one spot, you know? Then and it's growing. I mean, it's just going to take time, I think. But there are some like circuit breakers in there that kind of just, you feel the energy sort of stop, and you go, it's not translating around the corner.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You kind of feel that? I don't know. I've said that a couple of times, and I don't know if I'm making any sense.
You talking about literally the city block, the downtown block there?
Yeah, like, I mean, literally and figuratively. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I have this thought when I'm down there. I'm like, I feel it almost in my heart. Like, I go, okay, there's something not happening.
Because in my opinion, there's too much. I mean, I really hate to offend anybody.
Well, you know, you're doing it. I'll say this because I probably know where you're going, because I probably said the same thing, and I have felt the same way. It's not out of spite. It's out of love that you say that kind of thing, right? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, you got like music, and then food, and then you got lawyers and banks mixed in there. Okay, I said it. I already said it, so you're safe. If anybody's gonna offend it, it'll be offended at me, because I said this. I said the same thing. Yeah. And I mean, I love the people that own those businesses. Everybody does, but it's not the same. To me, it's weird that that's downtown in the cultural district. That's a weird nut to crack too, man. It's a puzzle box, because you go, okay, well, you got to have a client. The people with the property need a client that's got the resources to rent the space, because they don't want to. If they sit and wait on somebody who's got a create a successful creative business, it may never happen. But at the same time, if you have too much of that type of stuff, banks and attorneys and insurance and things like that, and again, saying that lovingly, it doesn't create that energy flow of, no, definitely not. You know, that those things don't feed off of each other. No. I mean, it's a nice space, but it doesn't just, I don't know, it doesn't all rise together. I mean, I think if that area is done correctly, from Mill Street all the way to the courthouse, it should be solid if it was done right. Yeah. I experienced that filming events. And, you know, this is, again, no slight against the people who are trying. I mean, many groups have really tried to energize that. And there are people right now, we worked on some projects where there are people who have visions for that, just what you're talking about. And, but man, it's just going to take a lot of work and a long time. I don't think it'll be, you and I will both be old men. That's the truth. Well, but look at Lafayette, though, by the 90s. It looked almost the same. But now when you go down there, it's almost like a small Austin. Yeah. Yeah, it's wild how much can change. I mean, leaps and bounds for Lake Charles downtown, though. I mean, compared to... Oh, yeah. I mean, golly, even to a decade ago, you wouldn't recognize it. I'm always amazed by that. Sulphur doesn't really have the same kind of thing going on. I mean, Sulphur is just a different city. You know, we don't have that kind of... It's just there's just on a walking area. I think there are people with visions for that, though, in certain parts of town, but it'll take a lot to get that to happen. But we do have nice parks and things like that, but we just don't have like that kind of energy flow in this city. There's just not a lot of walking
districts, you know. But downtown, I don't know. It is special. I mean, I think there's a lot for it to experience, and there's a lot going on. I mean, there's always some kind of festival or something happening where that space is starting to be utilized. It would be nice to see things like that all over Lake Charles, like pockets of that. But it's just, I don't know. Those businesses are going to have to cluster together, to create that. That is a good thing, though. You're not the first person I've talked to who's kind of had the same wish, and I think that would be a big change. Speaking of change, though, I mean, how do you feel about Panorama Music House?
Oh, I think that's going to be good.
Yeah? Well, I don't know a whole lot about what kind of venue that's going to be, but I mean, I know where it's at, and it's an old Rick and Jack, same kind of leadership.
Yeah, I mean, I hear they're gonna have music and all that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Another venue.
I mean, it'd be fun to play there for sure. It'd be fun to hang out there, have somewhere different.
Yeah. What's your favorite venue to play at right now in our area?
Let's see, probably right now. Center Stage has good sound. We like playing there. I mean, I think that'd be the spot to play at right now.
Really?
Other than festivals, I mean, for us is what we always lean towards, I guess, at least till the Panorama.
Panorama, yeah.
At least, I'd like to play there, and I'd like to play at what's it gonna be called?
Is it downtown?
Zephyr's Brew Pub.
Oh, I hadn't heard of that.
Brew House or something.
Where's that gonna be?
That's supposedly can be where Luna Live is at.
Oh, okay. So somebody's taking that over to do that. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. But I mean, there used to our place was Luna Live, but they shut down.
Yeah, y'all played there.
That was our place. We like playing there.
Well, y'all been playing that venue for a long time.
Yeah,
and in one form or another, right? I mean, even before.
And then, I mean, usually any venue that was in the same spot that the Panorama.
Oh yeah, because you've had.
Is going to be any spot that's ever been there. We played at quite often too.
And that place has been a lot of things. That whole zone. I mean, it's just kind of shuffled.
Yeah.
Ever since Rick and Jack's, it's been,
Yeah. I mean, we played there when there was Rick and Jack's.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a lot. I mean, I remember Rick and Jack's pretty well.
Played there when it was Rick and Jack's. Happy Hippie.
Yeah. It was Dharma for a while, right?
Dharma. We played at Dharma. We had a show booked for
Wait, no, there was something else. There was the Pint House.
Pizzeria.
Pint House Pizzeria.
They didn't have bands play there.
That's right.
But yeah, we had one booked for Sloppy's downtown, but they shut down before that date came up.
Yeah, and I went there a couple of times to film some things, and it was a good venue. I liked it. It was packed, actually. They had that brunch.
Yeah. I mean, I went there all the time.
Did you?
Yeah. You talking about the Zydeco?
Yeah. 10:30 on Saturday.
Saturday, that's it.
Yeah. That was a packed little house, man.
Oh,
I mean, I was like, wow, it was fun too.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's just what it is. The energy of somebody on stage, you feel them interacting with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with anything.
Y'all interact with your crowd, with your fans, quite a bit.
Yeah.
I do remember that first time I saw y'all, man. Like I said, y'all had the look, and then the music fit with the look, and I thought y'all were pretty dynamic. I was like, dude, this is fun.
Well, we still look the same way.
I don't know, it was what y'all were wearing though. Y'all still had I think it had like little vests on, and like something that had like Von Dukes on the back or something too, huh?
But yeah, I mean,
some like heavenly,
just probably Western shirts with cut off sleeves.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, they had the haircuts,
car club shirts or something.
Yeah, it was pretty fun stuff, man. What's the most surprising thing that you've heard people say about you? You ever hear anything? Because I mean, sometimes we don't ever hear.
Well, I mean, I don't really. It's really none of my business to. What people think about me is their business, and it's really none of mine. So I don't.
Yeah, but you ever heard anything?
But the thing I probably heard most is just, I guess, from people that don't know who I am or know me personally, rather. They're always like, "You just look mad all the time."
You want to hear something funny? Dude, I actually got to tell you, I'm going to confess. So obviously, this is the first time I met you tonight. I mean, I've seen you. I've filmed you. I've edited footage of you, like close-ups of your face, of your hands, playing music. And you are so different than what I expected, because it's true. We make a judgment based on appearance.
Yeah.
Even if you don't even know you're doing it. I don't care. I mean, I might be wrong, but I think everybody does it to some degree. I didn't expect you to be mean. But because of, I guess, the type of music you were playing and then the energy, your demeanor is so different than that, and it's not a bad thing at all. It's actually refreshing, and this whole time I've been talking to you, it's been good for me, because I'm like, wow, I love that feeling where you recognize that your mind, like through somebody sort of you create a persona, and you don't even know you've done it. And then you meet somebody and you're like, wow, what a refreshment to know that I was so far off, and it breaks your mind a little bit. It kind of breaks you out of that assumption mode, you know? Yeah. That's kind of cool. I'm glad you actually answered that way, because I was like, yeah, I had that feeling too. You know, not exactly the same, but I was like, yeah, that's a totally different vibe than what I expected. Because the music, I would say, and a terrible way to express it, but like the energy is just, it's pumping. At least what I've experienced is a lot of energy, a lot of rock and roll energy, and you just got a nice, pleasant, peaceful demeanor, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's me.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's a juxtaposition, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, people think one thing when they do, and I do hear about it. But when they do get to know me, they're like, dude, you're probably the most chill person I know.
You're the most chill person I've met in a long time. It's a night. I'll be honest, man. It's like I said, it's a refreshment. It really is, because a lot of people are high strung, man. The world strings people out. Yeah. And actually, to be honest, some of my sub-program thoughts over here, I've been going, so how do I accomplish?
Yeah, that would be weird to like not know what direction to go with, with anything, or be like, it's one of them things where you got to kind of play by ear.
Yeah, I like it.
I mean, I was thinking the same thing coming up here.
Yeah, because we don't know each other.
And I mean, I wasn't worried about nothing, because I was just like, well, you can go ahead and try to guess what this is going to be like, or you can just not worry about it.
That's right.
Just, play it by ear.
Well, that's all it's supposed to be. I mean, look, if you sat down to talk to anybody, I mean, that's kind of what I asked you at the beginning. Have you ever done an interview like this? And you said you'd done one with exposure. And the person that you talk to for that's a different person than me. Yeah. So they're going to go a different way. They're going to ask different questions. Heck, I might ask some of the same questions, but it's, that's what meeting people's all about, I think. I don't know. It's supposed to be, I don't know. What's the word? Echo chamber. I think so many of us just want that, and again, there was me saying like, I don't know. Maybe nobody wants that, but it does seem that way, that a lot of us just want affirmation that we're right. Yeah. So a lot of conversations are, I hate to say, it's just, I pat you on the back and you pat me on the back, and then I pat you on the back and you pat me on the back, and then I shake your, it's like, that's not life. No. That's sort of, it's peaceful, I guess, in the sense that nobody gets in a fight, and that's okay. I'll take that. I'll take that. But I don't know. I kind of like the differences, that's supposed to be a beautiful thing.
Well, yeah. Everybody's, how do they say, uniquely not perfect.
Yeah, right. The beauty's sort of in the bumps and the bruises, and and the just in the differences. I think honestly, I hope, and that's kind of part of what I'm hoping comes out of this show, or the small audience that listens to it, that it's just a reminder that you're going to meet new people on this show. You can learn to appreciate and find the common ground with them and go, man, that person's so different than me, but they still got the same feelings, fears, thoughts, drives, worries, hopes. Yeah. And I think when you can do that, it's a beautiful thing. That to me is where brotherhood and sisterhood of humanity comes in, because that's important to me.
Yeah, definitely. Because you think about it, like wars, we all know that they're mainly for money.
Yeah, industrial. Yeah.
Sometimes religion, but
yeah,
for the most part, it's stereotypes that the other has for the other person.
I know. It is kind of,
because when you actually do talk to somebody that you may have a stereotype with, it's usually totally different.
Yeah. I totally agree. That's something that I mean, I don't want to say struggle with, because I don't really struggle with this. I deeply believe that we all want a similar thing. And there's this Buddhist prayer, or not a prayer, it's just a saying that I remember. I used to drive this water truck, and I would read it every morning. And it just makes me think about what we're talking about, and I'll probably misquote it. I always have to precursor everything with that, because I halfway remember some things. But this is the way it stuck with me was, all beings tremble before violence, all fear death, all love life. See yourself and others, then whom can you hurt? What harm can you do? Those who seek happiness by hurting those who seek happiness will never find happiness. For your brother is like you. He wants only to be happy. Never harm him. And when you leave this life, you too will find happiness. And I remember reading that, and I cried the first time I read it. And I was like, that's all it is, man. If we could all just read that and just look at somebody else and not get caught up in whatever the world's telling me I need to take from them or protect from them. And if they're doing the same thing, then, man, we could actually all make it. We could actually all get along and really look at each other with a whole different set of eyes. But, it's hard, you get clobbered over the head with experiences that aren't like that. And you can get a little bit jaded, I guess, against your brother or sister.
Yeah.
Start to protect yours and, keep a little, I don't know. It's just, it's a utopian dream, man. I mean, but I don't think it's impossible to do. It's just, I think in application, we'd have to do it collectively.
Yeah.
That's the only way that kind of thing works.
If only this was the time of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
No joke, man. Isn't that something? It's funny how much you look at that and you go, wow, how'd they figure that out?
Wow, you don't need money?
No money. Everybody's job has something to do with just bettering the species. Yeah. Right. I know. What a world that would be. Yeah, I think, there are people out there doing things for altruistic means or reasons, but ultimately, God, boy, this gets deep for me. I can go down a hole with this type of thinking, but I have to watch it, to be honest. But it's really got a lot to do with just money. I mean,
I was just about to say, that's the root to all evil.
It really is. I mean, and look, whatever religion you or faith, or if you have one or if you don't, it's in my email, and it says, you can't serve God and mammon, and I keep it on my email when I send my emails out, because I need that reminder sometime, because, there's that, well, that's the way it works. And, well, you gotta fit in, and you gotta do it because that's the system. And I'm like, yeah, just because it is don't mean that it actually should be, though.
Yeah.
And I know it's a dream, whatever, it's a liberal mentality or whatever people want to label it. I don't even care anymore. I really do truly believe that it doesn't have to be that way. It could not be that way. It just comes out as just plain old greed.
Yeah.
It
leads to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Bad.
It does. We change our dreams because
history
of it.
should tell us all that.
Sure. We change, we hurt each other over it. We steal it. We hoard it. God changes us, man. Yeah, but I do have to watch it, because if I'm going to survive in the world as it is, I can't go too far down that hole, because for me, and I don't know, I've been wired that way for a while. I will slip over, and my mind will go that way, and boy, I'll paint a whole picture,
Yeah.
But if you're going to get up and get your feet on the floor and go get back in the system, having that too much of that thinking will just drive you insane. I don't know if you've ever experienced any thinking like that, where it's like the daydream believer type of...
Well, sad enough to say, but, the bills keep coming.
That's right. That's right. It's a part of life. It is. Look, it's the agreements that we are involved in that we didn't make. And that's the best way I can say that, and I read that somewhere. It said, when you're born, wherever you're born at as a human being, whatever country you're born in or state or whatever, it's easy to just, you're thrown into it. You're born into a system that you didn't create and that you're told you're a part of.
Yeah.
And so you make an agreement that's sort of unconscious to be a part of that. And so then these things about that system are a part of your life, and it's an agreement you didn't make. You didn't sign a contract.
Yeah.
But you're a part of it, And if you continue, if you're going to function. You have to just be okay with the agreement.
With the flow.
That's right. Yeah. And so in the cracks of all that, I think things like art and creativity and bring hope and goodness to people, and it kind of changes your mind. It loosens you up a bit.
Yeah.
And in a way, I guess that's what, and this whole show is about finding the good. Sometimes you have to talk about some of the bad to get to the good, but I think that what you're doing is good. It takes people like you choosing to not make certain agreements. You know what I mean? Like, you could just make an agreement to play cover songs all the time.
Yeah, I could.
You could make an agreement to do that, and then not put new music out, man. And not let your creativity grow and change and do art too. You could just focus on doing that. And I'm not trying to poo-poo on cover songs,
Well,
which is an example.
That don't sound too good.
Right, you know what I mean? But you make that agreement, and it's and instead you've chosen to stay true to doing original work and stuff like that for the most part, and focusing on art. And that's a good thing, man. I mean, and you're bringing a lot of joy to people who love your music. I think that's good for the community. You need people like you doing that, because if nobody does that, who's going to make the original songs that other people are going to cover 50 years from now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If everything's a cover song.
Yeah.
No. Well, I got one more question in the bowl. We have one left. This one's kind of like the last one, though, but it's a little different. It's maybe a sadder question. What do you hope people will think or feel about you when you're gone? There's a monument, a Von Duke monument, and it's got something on it, or somebody's standing up talking about you. What do they say?
Well, I mean, I hope it'd be good stuff. No, I'm making sure now that it's going to be good stuff.
That's a good attitude, man. That's the right thing to say.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully that enough of my beliefs will bleed over to like my kids, and then they can pass it on, and hopefully that's how how I'm remembered is I guess through the positive things that I do and the ripple effect, I guess.
Sure.
Basically, my body could die, but my soul could maybe live on through what I teach my kids and they teach theirs.
Yeah.
And don't you know that your grandfather was an artist and blah blah blah, here's his stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, let me see that. Okay. And then it influences them to do artwork, play music. Did you ever hear this CD that your grandfather put out?
Yeah.
Oh man, we got to have a copy of that. Maybe we could play it at the next family reunion. It is a hard question, but
it is. But I think what you're saying is very touching, to be honest.
I guess it'd be nice to be able to leave somebody with something like memories and motivation to do hobbies, and I guess that's the only thing I could hope for is.
No, that's really beautiful, Ben. I mean, look, what you're saying is just precisely what we ought to all be doing, man. I mean, you're talking about, I don't know, there's something special listening to you say that. I hear you saying something that I would hope too. I mean, people who make things, we all want that, I think. And I don't know, I can't read everybody's mind or their hearts, but I mean, I think, especially if you have children, you want to go, hey, I hope I left you something. Not necessarily, maybe something you can touch. But if I left you something you can touch, and what I mean by touch, I mean like listen to or read or hear or interact with. If I left you something like that, when you touch it, when you interact with it, you get a feeling of who I was and who I am. Yeah. But, I don't know, you interact with that thing, and then it gives them a sense of who you were, and you hope that leaves, I don't know, imprints upon them, maybe something that when they change because of it, they pass something on too. It could be something new, but it's a blossoming of that person in maybe even a little small way. Yeah. Is that kind of what you're saying? Because it's what it sounds like. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hope the same thing, man. I mean, it's less about what somebody says about me. It's like my dad. My dad's passed away 3 years now, and when I talk about him, I could sit here and tell you my dad was this kind of a man. That's kind of whatever, right? I mean, that's just I don't know. it's like a wind rushing by. You barely catch it and then it's gone. But if I tell you a story about something he did and what I remember about it and how that changed me, because that's mostly what that's the real stuff, and why I remember that story, that's of more value, because you're going to learn about the man, but it's the effect that's really, you're like, wow, the imprint, and maybe that sharing of that story imprints on you or whoever hears it. That's I guess that's kind of what I want to, more than anything, is to be remembered in a positive way, one, and just to have not, for someone that maybe to have encountered me to have not been valueless, even if it's just a little bit. I mean, I guess I'm perfectly fine to fade away too, if that's all I get. But I don't know. I mean, to be remembered, maybe that's a little. Maybe there's just a human need to that, so you don't feel like you faded away. Yeah. I think it's natural to fear just being nothing. Yep. But some families are very good at that, though, remembering their ancestors, and some aren't. Yeah,
I know mine are. I mean,
are they really?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like I had a great grandfather that. And it was an artist, and he did music too. And
really,
we got old record copies of him singing, and I have like 2 of his artwork portfolios. And the thing is, he passed that down to my grandfather, and my grandfather passed it down to me.
That is amazing.
And so,
dude,
in the same aspect with artwork, my great grandfather passed artwork to his son, and then my grandfather. I guess it kind of skipped a generation, but then my grandfather taught me.
That makes me feel, I don't know, man. I mean, the whole thing about being present and really awareness, hearing you say that and knowing that you took the time to come over here and then you brought your portfolio and then I got to look through it and we talked about it. It's an interesting way to look at things, and I wish I could look at more parts of my life that way. It expands the whole experience, because look, I mean, I'm not only am I looking at your art, when I look at your art, I'm actually seeing the domino effect of what you just shared. I mean, you're a direct result. You're their karma basically being played out.
That's what I'd like to leave when I go.
That's beautiful, man.
To be able to show somebody, which I do. My son, he draws like little comic book characters and stuff, and I'll show him, different, like just like what my grandfather did, like little light sketches to do like the frame on the body and all that, and I tell him to draw it basically like my grandfather did with me, and then I'll go in and look at it. And then give him some pointers and just leave him with it. And then he just sits there and draws them by himself at that point. And by the time he's drawn them, over and over, he just gets better. So I think that I'll be able to teach him a little bit, enough to motivate him to stick with it. Yeah.
What you're describing, the awareness of that is awesome, man. I mean, as I'm listening to you say that, I kind of get this almost like feeling of watching that happen, and you just kind of see the timeline behind you. Do you know what I mean? Like the gravity of all that small history. And I would love to say that that's the kind of life I live, is that I see that in everything, but it has to be cultivated, because I mean, I can blow through the day and not have those moments. There's this house, and I don't know, just kind of circling back to what you'd said about being a carpenter, that you did carpenter work. There's this house that my dad had remodeled and kind of fixed after the hurricane. It was one of the last houses that he worked on before he got sick. And he was still healthy at that time, and I remember going over there and just, it was nice because I hadn't seen him work on a house in a long time. The smell of the wood and then the rafters, and I never got to see it. I was doing another job, but I would stop by and visit, so I got to see some of the progress. But then, it's a completed home now. He finished it and moved on, so I never really got to go back inside. But when I drive by that house in Lake Charles now, it's on Common Street, and I drive by it quite a bit. I always slowed. I feel my foot just go
Yeah.
let off the gas right there. And it's very subtle. I mean, I blow right by it, but I have that feeling of like his history just in that house.
His energy's in that house.
Yeah, it's the strangest thing. Like I do it exactly, and I go, man, my dad, I remember that memory comes back, and I just, for a split second, his whole history is just right there, you know, in that one little moment.
Yeah.
And it makes me kind of, again, want to go back and just like pause time and like have more of an awareness of that, you know.
Yeah.
And it just and I can't do that, but listening to you talk, I guess, is what I guess I'm ultimately getting to, is it makes me want to cultivate more awareness for those moments.
Yeah. And you see, that's one thing for me is it's actually not very easy right now, because he just started playing video games, so it's like
Oh, I know, my son.
golly, he was just getting into artwork.
Yeah,
And now
that'll
he's on
steal him
video
away.
games, but I think that he's got pretty much a time limit now, so
That's good. We have to do the same thing. My son's the same exact age as yours, and it's the same thing.
yeah.
I try to not give him, I mean, I can't say I don't get frustrated with it. I try to not, my wife and I both try to call it back. And I guess right now I'm not super worried because he gets a healthy dose of both. He does artwork. He plays with, you know, different things. He's got a variety, still wants to do outside stuff. I guess the fear at the back of my mind, is that the device ultimately, if I'm watching it, like, okay, if he doesn't want to do those things anymore, then I've got a problem.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
because I played video games when
Me
I was
too.
a kid
I sure
too.
did. I played
But
Atari. I played.
Yeah.
You know.
We didn't have phones and little smaller devices that were portable, and you know, I can remember like binge playing a few times, you know, like just, you know, the last big gaming system I was involved with was Nintendo. I kind of got out, but when I was little and that was what was out there.
Yeah, I had Atari and Nintendo, and then maybe a Sega Genesis, and that's it.
Oh yeah, Sega Genesis. That was been
Then
the
I got
90s.
out
I
of it.
remember that.
Yeah.
But I'm the same way. I checked out, but a lot of people didn't, and they stayed in it. And I've seen people's whole lives get turned upside down over games and stuff. But yeah, we just try to be aware, because I don't want to tell him you can't play a game, because I mean, they're kind of fun. I mean, he has a good time, he laughs, and
Yeah. I mean, it's like that.
you know, they're games. I mean, you know, just like any other game.
Yeah, and it's like that. You don't want to force them to not play and force them to do anything, and it's.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, how it goes when you force if they're anything like we are or anybody else, you force somebody to do something, and that never gets
Yeah,
that's a temporary submission.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I think it sounds to me like, you know, we're probably a lot alike in that thinking. I mean, you just kind of watch it and do the best you can, but if it looks like it's getting out of hand, you just rein it back, you know, which
Yeah.
there might be some tears, you know, involved, but I don't know. I mean, you know, spending time with them, and just, you know, one thing is just getting outside too. I mean, just getting away from that. Do y'all spend a lot of time outdoors?
Yeah, I mean, they ride bikes, and, you know, we go to the park, and
Yeah.
I got a big yard. They could throw the ball or whatever, ride bikes, scooters, or just hang around, you know?
Yeah, man, that's it. I mean,
sometimes that's, you know, just what the way we find entertainment is, you know, it ain't at a store. It ain't like we always got to be doing something. It's just enjoying each other's company around the house.
right. That's one thing that I like about having a family, man. I just like being together. You know, my oldest boy will spend a lot of time with me and my wife, and sometimes I honestly think we're probably his best friends, and I don't know that a lot of people can say that. I mean, you know, with a 15-year-old child, you know, dead center of high school and all the things going on with it, but I mean, I spend a lot of time with my oldest son, and we have a lot of really good conversations. I mean, he comes to us and asks questions, like real life questions, and I'm always amazed. I think sometimes I even take it for granted because I think it's normal.
Yeah.
And then I see the relationship and the lack of a relationship a lot of times, and I go, man, I need to remember that I have a treasure in this child, because he could not do this, because I didn't do that. You know, I love my parents, but I didn't go to them with my deep worries, fears. I mean, I kept all that to myself.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do that, and I'm like, why? And I don't know if it's him or if it's us, but maybe it's both. But I'm happy that it's that way, and I want that. I want I want my kids to feel like that, because if they don't have that, I mean,
I think that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, right. You're supposed to nurture them in that way, not just.
I mean, you don't want them to feel threatened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And put it off or worry about it, and just plumb not let you know anything. And
right.
If you don't know anything, how can you work on things together?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what families are, if families have always been that way. I mean, I've heard people say sometimes people used to have kids to work their farm, There's more people to take care of chores, but
maybe it's evolving, because I mean, I hear stories, of past generations of family life through my family, and it could see where it's kind of changed every generation. So I think it's kind of like basically evolving.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, now, I don't need my son to do a ton of chores. We don't have a farm to run, or a ranch or something. And so being in a home together, I mean, we should be in a relationship together. I like that he feels like he can, I don't know. I hate to say pride, but I do take a little pride in that. I feel a sense of accomplishment, I guess, as a person and a parent. Because, I've failed in a lot of ways. A lot. I would fail every day at a lot of things, but hopefully I'm making some successes in that regard, which ultimately goes back to that question that started all this, is that, maybe he'll have a healthy mind and a comforted heart. And hey, if that's how he thinks a family relationship should be when he has children. Well, yeah, definitely. Maybe it'll be even more of an evolution.
You don't want to be scared or afraid to talk to your family, because it's like when you're scared and afraid, that's the kid grows up fearing everything. Fear, it's like, what do you have when you have fear? You shut off everything. And I think a lot in the past, I think it was like the mentality of respect was gained through fear, like with kids and all that. But I don't think it's not supposed to be like that.
No, I agree.
Your kids shouldn't have to fear nothing,
especially their parents.
On a daily basis.
Right.
That'd be horrifying.
A lot of people, that's their whole reality, though. I those kind of stories break my heart more than anything. Going back to the news, that's partly the types of stories that really hurt me the most are human tragedies like that. The big stuff, but like it's those smaller, like just individual stories that really break my heart, because I love my children, especially, I don't know. I love them, especially when they're sleeping. I love to go in there when they're asleep and just lay with them and just, that's something just feels like, oh man. In that moment, they're safe, and you're going, okay, if we have just peaceful sleep is such a blessing. And I think about so many kids who go to bed in fear, man, or they don't go to bed, they go to bed in tears or whatever they're hearing, and that breaks my heart, because I'm like, man, my children don't have that. They're not going to bed in chaos. Yeah. And carrying that chaos into the next day, And as adults, we do that a lot, I do anyway. I know, like, fears and worries, and those things are like just, again, you said it. What does fear bring? And when we're functioning out of fear, we do different things. It makes us different. I wish we could function more out of kindness and love. I want that more than anything for me, but it takes work. I wish I could say that it's just, it's an ongoing natural state, but I think it has to be flexed. It's got to be worked at, and I have to work at it. I have to really remember to not be reactive, because someone cuts you off in traffic or just does something. Dude, I hate to say it, but people do things that are just like, you go, damn, that's just being an asshole for no reason. Yeah. Just kind of just being hard and hurtful for no reason. That kind of stuff stings me too, because I'm like, this is just an unwarranted pain-causing thing, and that's where my battle begins, because I'm like, okay, I can react to that and go, hey, I'll strike back. Yeah. Or I can really like work through those emotions all very quickly and go, no, I'm just going to choose to be kind and proactively passive. Yeah. Because I think people see passivity as a weakness. But I think you can be proactively passive, and it can be a strength, but it takes effort. Like, that's actually harder to do than to be cruel. Yeah. 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 So, instinct kind of kicks in too. Yeah. It's a survival protection instincts.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is. It's a hard world. You know, and if you're tuned into media, it's even harder because, I mean, we're sort of celebrating machismo and almost foulness to some degree, to say hateful things and to be the funniest, most smart aleck in the bunch, you know, and how hurtful can we be and get laughs, and people's pain has sort of become like a spectacle.
Must be talking about reality shows.
Yeah, I mean, in the internet even, I mean, it becomes that.
Yeah.
It's like a playground for that, and because there's that level of anonymity. That's kind of what I like about a show like this. And sometimes when I get on it and I start talking to people, I go, man, I tend to forget that it's going to be put out there. And I like that feeling because I go, ultimately, the internet is almost the opposite of that, because you can be anybody. You can make any kind of handle you want, open a Gmail account, call it something, and go out there and just wreak havoc and light the world on fire.
Yeah.
With something like this, I mean, I can't hide. If I say something, I'm not, unless it's something like I go, hey, I don't want that out there. But most of the time I try to, let me just put it out there. You can't hide. And I like that because it's just honest, man. I mean, you know, it's the joys and fears and hopes of a human being, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of narcissistic behaviors on the internet, and
sure.
and it's like they're only putting out what they want people to see about them. Right. Nothing else. Just how they want people to view them.
Well, I'll tell you what I hope happens. I do. I don't know. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I've actually really enjoyed getting to sit down with you and meet you. And one of the reasons is because, like I said, it helped me strip away that little part of me that still puts people in a category or predetermine who I think they're going to be.
Yeah.
I like that for one, that that little autopilot thing that did that was completely off, which is great. And then honestly, you said that you've heard that when I asked you that question, that you've heard that before, that people thought you were mean or something. I actually do hope people listen to this, because honestly, I think it's going to make them appreciate you as a person even more, because it's like multi-dimensional. I mean, there's just, you know who you are.
Yeah.
You know, but not everybody who goes to listen to your music is going to get an opportunity to sit down and talk to you.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and even if someone wrote an article about you, it's still just words on paper.
Yeah. To
hear you be yourself and just visit, it just adds something to anything. I think it does. When we meet people, it's just nice to go, hey, I know that person. A buddy of mine had texted me the other day, and he had been listening to the show, and he said, man, I feel like I've met these people. It's nice. He said, I actually feel like if I saw them somewhere, I think about it differently now than if I had just walked by their art table.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it's like, oh, okay, that's their art, and you walk by and you just judge their art. When the humans is intertwined with it as it should be, it becomes more beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure, brother.
Likewise.
Yeah. Hope it's been good for you. It was good for me.
Likewise, it has been.
Yeah. How do people find you, man? If they want to if somebody hears this and wants to look at your art, book you, or just get to know you better, you have a website?
Well, I mean, I got just social media. I got Ben Von Duke on Facebook and Instagram. I mean, that's it.
Yeah. Do y'all have a website
not really
for the band?
Technologically savvy.
Well, you do. You got it out there.
Yeah, and the band has a Facebook page, the Von Dukes, and an Instagram page, Von Dukes Official Instagram. Let's see, I'm gonna have a booth set up for a Central School.
Oh yeah, the Christmas.
The holiday market.
Holiday market, yeah. Yeah, I worked the I guess the checkout table at that several years back. It was a pretty cool event.
Yeah. So I'll be there all weekend.
Yeah, because they start at like Friday night, and then it's Saturday, and part of day Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back when I was there, there's a lot of new artists in town now too, so it's probably a more dynamic or diverse market. Good luck with all of that, and honestly, man, it's been a real pleasure. And honestly, next time I go see you, I won't be a stranger.
Please don't.
Yeah. Mean Ben Von Duke up there playing rock and roll, man.
Come talk to me and I'll beat you up.
Hey, man, you know what? I think that's just, to me, that's one of the most beautiful takeaways of sitting down talking to you. It's just, again, that experience of a person being so different than what your brain just automatically does. I mean, guilty is charged. I mean, I don't know why we do that. I mean, we all do it, I guess, to some degree or another. It's probably just a built-in mechanism, man. It's nice to have that mechanism broken.
And I love